Hi everybody, welcome back to Life of K. Alright, I hope you guys have been following and watching my vlog series. So this is the episode entitled My 90-Day Fiancé Story. This is vlog 4, Diary of a Perpetual Single Muslimah. I hope you've been following along. Once again, if you have not watched or viewed the previous 3 vlogs, please go and do that. So you'll have some background and you'll know what's been going on in my story. Also, if you haven't watched part 1 of this particular episode, please go back and watch that first, because today is going to be part 2 of my 90-Day Fiancé story. So again, so you understand what's going on, you might want to go back and watch part 1 if you haven't already done so before watching this one. Alright, so now we're in part 2, and where I left off was that we are in Algeria, my parents and I, and we traveled there for the purpose of getting married Islamically, religiously. And again, the reason behind that was so that I could bring him over to the United States on a K-1 visa, which is also called a fiancé visa. And one of the requirements of that visa is that you have to provide evidence that you have a real legitimate relationship with this person. And you need photographic evidence of this. So in order for me to get that kind of evidence, I need to be married to him, to take the proper pictures I need to take to put in with our package in order to obtain this visa. So that is one of the main reasons why we went to Algeria in the first place. So where I left off at last time was that we had just gotten married by the Imam in Algeria. So let me now go ahead to his arrival here in America. So from beginning to end, all in all, it took him a year to get here to the United States. So the whole process took a year. When I got back to the States, and now I had the photographic evidence that I needed to add to the rest of the evidence that I had, and the other paperwork that had to be compiled together to send to the government for this visa. Once I had assembled everything into this humongous package, it basically wasn't a giant binder. Everything was then sent to the immigration office in DC, and the fiancé visa takes about 6 to 8 months to get approved on average. And the spousal visa takes about a year. So again, that was the main reason why I went with the fiancé visa instead of the spousal visa, because it was faster. So with the fiancé visa, like I said, about 6 to 8 months was the average time. I believe in our case, it did take about 8 months for him to get approved. I did everything myself. I did not hire a lawyer to do the paperwork. I did all the paperwork completely 100% on my own. And for anyone out there who is thinking about doing it, you can do it yourself. It is not impossible. It's not that hard, actually. It is a lot of paperwork, but you can do it yourself. You don't need a lawyer to do it. I did it 100% on my own, just through research, just through talking with other women who had also done it. I think I did not mention this in part 1, and I probably should have. I actually found this amazing group of other women who also were married to Algerians, and they had brought their husbands over on a K-1 visa. So I found this amazing support group. Some were Muslim, some weren't, but we all had one thing in common, which was we all were married to Algerians, and they all brought their husbands over on a K-1 visa. So it was a really great support group online that I was a part of, and they really helped me a lot. I was so grateful that I had them. I could ask all my questions to them since they'd already been through the process. They gave me a lot of great tips, a lot of great advice. As a matter of fact, one of the women in the group was, she's the one who gave me the information for the travel agent that she used to visit Algeria, whenever she goes to Algeria visits. So that's how I even was able to get the flight and all that stuff, because she was the one who hooked me up with her travel agent, so I can get a pretty decent price and going to Algeria. So I just kind of want to throw that in there too. So after everything was said and done, it took about 8 months for him to get approved. He got approved, which was, I remember being so ecstatic, so exciting, so oh my god, over the moon. That meant finally, he could join me here in the United States, because we really didn't miss each other a lot. We had just been Skyping and calling, and obviously if you've ever been in a long distance relationship, you know that that's so hard and it's not easy, and you just miss each other like crazy when you're that far from each other and you only have phone or email or Skype. You know, it's just not the same as being, you know, with this person. So we were very excited that we were approved and we could finally be together. So I remember I originally planned, once we had his flight information, he told me the day he was supposed to be coming. I remember that I couldn't wait because I was excited about going to the airport meeting him at the airport, I was imagining this great, like romantic meeting, like maybe I would run up to him or something. I kind of had it in my head. Well, he had other plans. It's so funny. Apparently, he kind of wanted to surprise me, so he had another plan which he did not tell me about. And he came during the week. I remember it was a weekday. I don't remember what day it was. I just know it was a weekday because I was at work. And I remember I came home from work because at that time, well, not came home. Came to my parents' house, I should say. Even though at that point I did have my own apartment. I was no longer living in my parents' house. But my job was near my parents' house or in their neighborhood. So after work, I would just go there. And that would allow me to kind of like relax a little bit, pray, that kind of thing. So I always went to their house after I finished work. So I was going there. I remember going to my parents' house, and my dad comes up to me. He meets me at the door, which was kind of weird because he never does that. So he was like, "Oh, I have a friend here that I want you to meet." I was like, "Huh? A friend? Like, why would I want to be meeting your friends?" So I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, the brother I know, a friend here, he came by, and I just want you to meet him. I'm like, okay. I remember thinking, why would I want to meet any of your friends? Like, I'm sure they're gonna be mad old. So like, all right. Okay, I remember, it's after work, you're tired, you're not even really, thinking, and all of a sudden, my husband steps out, and it was him, like there, in the flesh. I was like, first I thought I was seeing things. This can't be real. I was like, what? Like, you're here? I thought your flight was coming like tomorrow or whatever. Like, he wanted to surprise me, and he was there in the flesh. My parents apparently had gone to pick him up from the airport. Again, they didn't tell me. He didn't tell me. So I had no idea this was going on while I was at work. Okay, so like I said, he's here in America now. I got an apartment. Everything was ready to go for when he came. That was good. So now we're living together, starting our life together. Here in the United States as a married couple. Remember, he's here on a K1 visa, so we have 90 days to get married. When I say married, I mean like legally married. So that's what we did. We had to go get legally married because we only have 90 days to get everything done. Also, during that time, I think he also had to apply for his Social Security card and work papers, so that will allow him to be able to work here in the United States. So we got all that stuff done within the 90 days. We got legally married and everything within the 90 days. So we were able to start our life here in America. It took him only maybe a couple of months just to get his work visa, his work papers. I think it took about 2-3 months for him to get that. Social Security card, a few weeks. That was pretty easy actually. Now the thing is, and I knew this going in, obviously when you marry someone who's not from this country and they're bringing them over, they're, again, until they get their work papers, they're not allowed to legally work until they get that. So that was hard, but again, I knew going in that was going to be the case. Again, from the support group, from the women who already did it, they did say, like, they kind of just warned me, like, look, you're going to have a lot of patience during that period because you are going to be the breadwinner, you won't be allowed to work, so it's really up to you. And then once he gets his work papers, he'll be able to look for a job, and then he'll help out. So again, I knew going in this was going to be something. I was okay with that because I knew it was going to be a temporary situation. Once he got his work papers, he'll be able to work. What I didn't anticipate was that, again, it takes time. Now, I will say he did go out and find something off the books shortly after he arrived. He was able, through another Algerian brother who he met once he got here to the States, a friend, that he was able to get a job off the books when he first arrived. So he was doing that. So it wasn't like he was sitting home for those 3 months or whatever. He was working. So he actually had some kind of income, and there was something coming in. Obviously, it's off the books. It's nothing really that's going to make a significant difference in terms of being able to handle bills and things like that. So I really was the main breadwinner. I think I just didn't think it through, and I didn't think it would be as difficult as it was in terms of him finding a good enough job to really take on the role and do what a husband's supposed to do, which is to pay for everything. Like, we know that the man is the one who really is supposed to be the breadwinner. He's the one who's supposed to pay for all the bills and things like that. At least in Islam, we know that's true, right? So I guess I just didn't think that it would take that long. Or, after he got here, he was very gung-ho at first. Like, he really was like, I want to find something, I want to contribute, I want to earn my, I want to do what I'm supposed to do. So once he got his work papers, he started looking for another job. He kept the off the books job because at least that was something coming in. But he wound up, he never really found that really good job. Not, I guess, what he wanted. he wound up getting another job working for actually a social service agency, which my mom's friend actually got for him, or put a word for him. So he was actually able to get that from my mom's friend, which was really nice of her to do. And it actually was a decent job. It wasn't a career, but it was income. It was a decent job. Monday to Friday, it was working as a janitor for this building. And again, you get health insurance with it and all the stuff that comes along with a regular employee job with a check. So that was at least good, you know. He stayed with that job for a little while, but he wound up not being satisfied with that job. He's like, oh, I don't want to. I guess he felt in his mind like being a janitor or custodian was beneath him. Even though everybody has to start somewhere, it's a job at the end of the day. So I don't know why he thought that this was beneath him. I think that was kind of silly. I remember thinking that was silly. And he always seemed to kind of trying to figure out what he wanted to do. I remember he got a job working at Dunkin' Donuts, did that for a while. It's just like he was always trying to figure out what he wanted to do in terms of career. Now, obviously, like I told you, he did get his degree back in Algeria, which was in engineering. But if you know anybody who is foreign or, you know, has come over here from another country, you know you can't really work with whatever degree you have from your country here. They make it so hard for you. Even if you're a doctor back in your country, the chance of you being a doctor here are very slim. Like, it's really hard. We basically have to go back to school again here in the States and get all that stuff done again. You have to go get the license again. Like, everything you have to do basically all over again. That's just how the United States works. So in order for him to actually work in the field that he trained in, he would have to go back to school here in the United States and basically do everything all over again just so he can work as an engineer here. And at the time, I mean, that costs money for one thing, and time, and just didn't have very much of that at the time. So that kind of was on hold for the time being. So that's why he had to find other jobs in the meantime, so at least he could help out with paying the bills. Like I said, it was an okay job. It allowed him to help out a little bit, but it still wasn't enough to where he could completely take over everything on his own. I still wound up paying for a lot of stuff, and that was kind of annoying to me because I never want to be in a marriage where I was the breadwinner and I was the one taking care of everything. That's not what I was looking for. If anything, I wanted to have the option. Maybe I don't feel like working sometime. I could just like maybe work part time or cut back, but I couldn't because again I was still the main breadwinner, and I remember getting annoyed and frustrated because he never really seemed to find his niche. He never really seemed to find the job that I guess he felt was satisfied and happy with, and a job that could help take care of all the bills that we had. He never really found it, and that was again, that can cause a lot of tension, that can cause a lot of arguments, which it did. Again, he wound up switching jobs, where he left the other job as a janitor altogether and decided to do Uber. I remember thinking, oh my god, like, why would you do that? Because you don't have a car, and at the time he didn't have a driver's license. So he wound up going to school, to our driving school, getting his driver's license, okay, which is fine, but he didn't have a car. So he had to go and now and try to figure out how he can find a car kind of relatively cheaply, where he's able to make the payments on himself, so he can do this Uber thing, which he did. He found a decent car, which he had found from another Muslim brother who was able to hook him up. I think they went to some kind of auto auction or something. That's something to get a good deal on it. And he decided to do it. So he started Uber now. So he quit the other job, the Monday to Friday regular job as a custodian, and now he's doing Uber. Which again, if you've ever done Uber or you know someone does Uber, to make decent money, you really have to put a lot of time and hours into it. So you're working not only Monday to Friday, you're working pretty much 7 days a week because, again, the really money maker is usually on the weekends when people are going out more. So that's really when you put a lot of your hours in on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because that's when people are going to be using Uber the most. So at this point, we're rarely even seeing each other because this Uber literally takes up every ounce of free time that he has. So we're very rarely seeing each other at this point in time. When we do see each other, a lot of times it kind of winds up getting into an argument over the same kind of things, whether it's bills, whether it's, you know, future. Again, at that time, was I thinking divorce? No, I was just thinking this is typical couple problems and we'll work it out and we would get through it like any other couple and it'll work itself out. But I did notice a couple of things. I did notice that he was staying out more. Even if he had some time, free time where he wasn't working, I noticed that he was staying out more. Like, oh, I'm going to meet my friend. We're going to go out and do this. We're going to do that, you know, that kind of thing. I noticed that. And whenever he would speak to his family back home, he always would go out and speak with them. So instead of speaking to them like everyone does right here in their home, he would say, I'm going to go to Starbucks, or I'm going to go to Dunkin' Donuts, I'm going to take my laptop, my phone, whatever with me, I'm just going to go do my call, my video call, whatever, I'm going to speak to my parents. I mean, at first thinking that's kind of strange, because earlier in the marriage, he would always just do it at home, which wasn't a big deal. And it gave me opportunity to say hi to them also. But now, all of a sudden, it's like, I noticed he would always leave the house whenever he was supposed to was talking to their parents. Now, that should have been a red flag at the time, but of course, my mind wasn't even thinking about anything suspicious or anything that could be, you know, going on. So it wasn't a red flag at the time, but in retrospect, it should have been. But there's some things that I remember noticing though. Another argument and another point that we kind of remember was a little bit of tension was, again, expanding our family, having a baby. Now, before we even got married, we had discussed this and talked about it. He wanted children, didn't have any children. He was very excited about the prospect of having children and being a father. So that was something we already discussed about. He made it clear he wanted kids, and he wanted kids. He didn't want to wait, like relatively right away. I was the one who pushed the wait because I was thinking, look, when you first come, you're not coming to work. You know, are still getting settled, adjusting to life in America, which is a huge adjustment if you've never been there. So I wanted to wait at least a good year or so before even thinking about having a baby. And he finally did agree with that. We decided to wait, and then go to think about expanding our family. Now we go into year 3, 4, or whatever, into marriage, 5 in your marriage. And every time I bring up the topic of a baby, he always would say, no, this is not the right time. This is not the right time. I don't have the right job. I don't want to have a child, and I'm working at Dunkin' Donuts. Like, you know, it was always an excuse and a reason why we could not have a baby. So that was another cause of contention between the two of us. We never seemed to iron that issue out. And things kind of steadily and progressively kind of got worse in the sense that he was out more. Even when he had free time, I noticed he was going out more. And then when he was here, it was like we kind of sometimes always get some kind of argument. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, it was something silly sometimes. Like, it was always seemed to kind of go back to that. Again, at this point, I still wasn't thinking, oh, I want to divorce him. It was just like, okay, hopefully this is a patch we're going through, a rough patch or a hump. We'll go over the hump, and then things will be better. It's just, he needs to definitely figure out, career-wise, what he wants to do, settle on that, and that felt like things would get better from there. Well, it didn't. So what happened? I'm going to go into that now. So you're probably going to be like, okay, so then what happened? How did it get to the point with divorce? Like in a previous marriage, and this one as well, I never got a chance to have a say in what I wanted to do. I never got a chance to even voice my opinion and say, look, I want a divorce. I remember this was right before Ramadan. This was like, so it had to be, it was in May. We're going back 3 years now. And at this point, we have been married for 6 years. So it was like literally maybe 3 days before Ramadan started. And I remember it was a weekend, because I remember he was driving for Uber like he always did. The weekends we very rarely saw each other, because again, that's his busiest time. So usually I would see him maybe when I go home from work on Friday, and then really didn't see much of him because he was out driving a lot. Sometimes I would catch him in the morning. We would come in the wee hours, like you come in early in the morning, sleep through a lot of the day, because you would go back out in the evenings where just when the money would really come in, because that's when people would go out. So I remember I saw him, I think it was like that Friday evening or something like that. It's a little fuzzy now. But we did have an argument. I just think remember we had an argument. We had a fight about something. And finally went to sleep. And then the next morning, he apparently had went out. I forget, he probably went out driving. Didn't really see him. No, I'm sorry. I saw him the next morning because he was still, it was during the week, because I remember I left for work. So I left work next morning. He was still sleeping. And to be honest with you, that's the last time I saw him, even to this day. And I'll tell you why. Okay, so again, I go to work, come back home in the evening. He wasn't back yet. Now, usually at some point during the day, he'll come back briefly with his lunch, take a quick nap before he heads back out in the evening. And when I saw that the bed was still made up, I realized he never came in. Like, he never came back. He never, whatever. Oh, he didn't get in yet. And I'm like, oh, maybe he just decided to pull in more hours. Not unusual. But when the next day came and went, or the next day came, and he still had not come home yet, that's when I knew something was amiss. Something was not right. I'm like, okay, he still is not back yet. He should have came back at some point. Sleep, right? So of course now I'm texting him, finding out where are you, what's going on. I can get back home yet. No response. Text, no response. Call. I was like, you know what? Let me just straight call him. Straight to voicemail. So I'm like, hey, what's going on? Why is his phone turned off? Why is he not responding to my text? Why isn't he answering his phone? So now I'm like, at first I was getting worried. Like maybe it was an accident. Maybe something happened. So again, now we go into the second day, still no communication from him whatsoever. So I'm like, this is crazy. I'm not hearing anything from him. So I finally reached out. I'm trying to see how. Oh, I reached out using Viber. Viber is another app service you can use. With Viber, it's kind of like WhatsApp. You can make phone calls and text like anywhere in the world. So you won't have to worry about just the United States. You literally contact anyone in any country through Viber, which is what he usually would use when he would speak to his family. So I said, let me just reach out to him on there. Try to reach out to him on Viber. A few hours go by, and finally he actually wind up answering me on there. So I'm like, where are you? What's going on? He finally reached out. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm on my way to Algeria. On my way to Algeria? Why? What's going on? So he's like, oh, there was an emergency. My mom is really sick, and she's in the hospital. And my dad is by himself, so there's no one to really look after him. And my brother, his older brother, who lives with his parents still, he said he left and went to France, and he's nowhere to be found. So there's nobody there to help out. So I'm gonna go over there and see what's going on and help out. That's the story he gave me, right? So I'm like, okay, well, he still could have told me if you had to go to Algeria, like the fact that you didn't even leave a note. No communication whatsoever. I remember thinking that was strange. That they literally just leave without any kind of communication that you were going literally to another country. I remember thinking that was very, very strange. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, just please. So at that time, he's like, I'm not in Algeria yet. I have my flight layover in France, and I'm waiting to board to get to Algeria. That's what he told me. He said, once I get to Algeria, I will send you a message and let you know I arrived and fill you in everything. So I'm like, okay, fine. Well, at this point now, Ramadan started, and I remember also being upset because, wow, your timing sucks. You couldn't wait until after Ramadan to do this, because now I'm going to spend, what, Ramadan by myself now? Like, just me and my daughter by ourselves? Like, you left right, literally, like, a couple days before Ramadan started? Like, that was really inconsiderate. So I really was upset about that. Waiting to hear the message from him, I was like, okay, he should have been, a couple days go by, like, okay, he should have been arrived by now. I should have heard something from him. Still no message from him, no nothing. So I start reaching out to him again, trying to figure out what's going on. He gets back to me finally. Oh, everything is fine. Yeah, I'm here. I'm in Algeria, but the Wi-Fi is not that great. It's really slow. As a matter of fact, I even had to borrow someone's phone just to even send this message. So when I get a chance to go to an internet cafe, I will email you. First chance I get. But I probably have to go to the internet cafe to do it, because the Wi-Fi is really not that good. I'm like, okay, because I do have a lot of questions as to what's going on. Like, how long are you going to be gone? What's going on? What's the status on your parents? Like, I have so many questions. What's going on here? Like, I'm still in the dark about what's going on and what's really happening. He assured me that he would answer everything in his email. So I remember distinctly asking him straight up, what, do you want a divorce or something? Are you leaving me? Or he said, no, nothing like that. No, I love you. I'm not leaving you. Don't worry about it. I still love. So I'm like, okay, because in my mind, of course, I'm like, okay, what, this is how you leave me? This is your version of saying you don't want to be married anymore? He assured me that that wasn't the case, and he would explain everything in this email. Well, I kept waiting for that email. Never came. Finally, this is where the story gets a little weird. This is, remember, during Ramadan. Days, maybe a week goes by, still no word. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm still not hearing anything from him. I get a phone call out of the blue, my phone. It was through WhatsApp. I didn't recognize the number, and I could tell from the number it was a foreign number. It was not a number here in the U.S. So right away I'm like, who's calling me from overseas? I think that was weird. So I thought, well, maybe it could be my husband. I thought maybe it was him. Maybe he borrowed somebody's phone or something, you know? So I answered the phone. On the other end, it was a woman's voice. So I'm like, she goes, "Assalamu alaikum." I'm like, "Wa alaikum assalam." She goes, "Is this Khalila?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Is this the Khalil that's married to the name blank?" I go, "Yeah." So she says, "Oh, well, I know we don't know each other, but my name is," I'm just going to throw a name out there. This is not her real name. I'm just using it for the purpose of this video. "My name is Sumaya." I'm like, "Okay. Sumaya, right? So what's going on?" Like, my mind is racing this point. Like, what is going on? Who is this Sumaya and why is she calling me? So she goes, "Sister, you don't know me," and I can hear that she has an accent. "Sister, you don't know me, but I know your husband." I'm like, "You know my husband?" She goes, "Yeah, I don't know how to tell you this," but she's like, "I have been with your husband for the last 2 years." It's like, "What do you mean with my husband for the last 2 years?" She said, "Well, we were supposed to be getting married, actually. Supposed to get married. So yeah, we're engaged. We've been engaged for like the last couple of years. He's been coming to see me. We met online, and he's actually been over here a couple times to see me already. And we're supposed to be getting married." I'm like, "Huh?" News to me. Never knew this. So my mind is racing at this point. I had so many questions and was also at the same time confused. So she said, "Sister, the reason why I'm reaching out to you is that," and I do apologize for this, I don't want you to think that like I did this knowingly, because she said I didn't, and I just felt like you should know, because at the end of the day, you're my sister in Islam, so I never wanted to hurt you in any way. So he told me that he was divorced. That's the story he gave her. He told me he was divorced. He told her, this is what she told me, that his ex-wife was actually a revert, a convert Muslim, which I'm not. And that the marriage didn't work out, and he divorced me. And he told her that he was in the process of getting a legal divorce. How he told her that he already put $2,000 down on a lawyer, some stuff, the paperwork, and he's just waiting for another couple $1,000 so he could finish the paperwork for the legal divorce. That's the story he told her, and now she's telling me. I'm like, what? And so she said, at first got suspicious because she said when he came on his last visit, she said he left his wallet out or something, and she saw his green card. That's what it was. She saw his green card, right? And it said K1 on it, and she was like, "What's that mean? Why is that K1 on the green card?" So she went and Googled it, and that's what she said. When I found out that K1 meant fiance visa, like you have to bring, and she read up on it, what it entailed, and all that stuff. I guess he never told her about that. So she was like, start piecing things together. He assured her that he was divorced. He told her we were no longer living together, so it was a done deal. He was just waiting on the legal divorce. That's what he told her. So she got a little suspicious. She saw that, and she said when she Googled my name, he and our names came up together, which meant we were still legally married together. So she's like, "Wait a second, he told me that we're no longer together." She thought that was kind of weird, that my name was still associated with his. So that's when she started to do some digging on her own, and she came to the realization that he was lying and that he was still married. And that's when she decided, you know what, let me just call and find out for myself. Let me just call her and just hear it straight from her and see if he's telling me the truth or if he's lying to me. And of course I told her, he's lying to you, we're still married. I literally told what had happened, how I woke up one morning, I basically woke up and he was gone, and when I finally reached him, he told me the story how he was going to Algeria. She said, "Algeria? He's right here in France with me, what are you talking about?" I was like, "Wait, what? He's not Algeria." She's like, "He in France, like what are you talking about?" That's when I found out that he had lied about everything. He never was going to Algeria, that was a lie. He was going to France to meet with her. And she had told me the plan was for them to get married actually, when on this trip here. They were going to get married, have their nikah. And then from there, he was going to go to Algeria for a little bit. I guess to fill his family in, I don't even know why. And her job was to find them an apartment in France, because apparently the plan was to live in France. So her job was to find the apartment for them while he went and settle things in Algeria, and he was going to come back and join her in France. That she told me what the plan was. Never was supposed to go to Algeria again, but that was a lie. I kind of found out he had lied about a few things, because she did tell me he had been at least 2 other times to Algeria before. I mean, to France before. And when I started replaying things in my mind, I realized he had lied about that too. There were 2 times that he went to France, and he did tell me. The first time he went to France, it was like maybe a year or 2 after he got here. He mentioned an aunt being sick. He does have family in France, so he had an aunt living in France. His aunt had cancer or something, was very, very gravely ill, and since no one from his family in Algeria could go to France and visit her, they were unable to make that trip. He's like, I'm gonna go and visit her and see her, because it may be for the last time. She's not doing very well. So he had left for France that first time, stayed for maybe, I want to say maybe a week. The second time he went to France, which was, I want to say, maybe actually a few months before he disappeared this time, was a friend's wedding. His best friend in Algeria was getting married. And he told me that at first he was not going to be going to Algeria. His friend had asked him earlier if he can come for the wedding. He told him no. Then he said his friend begged him, please, you gotta come. And we're saying about you. I really do there. You're my best friend. You're my boy. I need you at my wedding. So then he said, you know what? I told him, okay, fine. I'll go to the wedding. I'm not gonna stay long. I'll go to the wedding. That was the second time he did France. Now, at that time, he told me he was going to Algeria. But I found out from Sumaya that he never was in Algeria. He was in France the entire time. So, yeah. So she said, the entire time he was actually with her in France, I guess, making their plans. And she did send me evidence to prove what she was saying was true. She actually texted me pictures of the 2 of them together. So it wasn't just hearsay. She wasn't just telling me a story. She literally sent me pictures of the 2 of them together, and that confirmed what she was saying was true. They were in fact a couple, and he had been with her these last 2 years with the plan to marry her and move and live with her in France. And I never even never knew. And again, as I'm replaying things and I started thinking about things, again, those other 2 trips made sense. He was really with her. Just suddenly, again, staying out all the time because he's talking to her. Why suddenly, whenever he had to call his family and speak to his family back home, he would always leave the apartment to go do it. He really was going to Skype and FaceTime her. Like, everything started falling into place and everything started making sense. Like, everything made sense at that point. Like, wow. He was playing me the whole time. He was playing me the whole time. And that's how I found out that he basically was cheating on me for at least 2 years. I kind of came to the conclusion that he had been cheating longer than that, because even she told me that before her, there was another sister that he was interested in talking to from the Netherlands. So this wasn't the first time that he had done this. So with the original trip that he had made, when the one he supposedly was going to France for his sick aunt, he actually was going at that time to meet another sister in the Netherlands. It just didn't happen to work out. It didn't work out. And it was with the trip after that, the one he supposedly was going to go to his friend's wedding in Algeria, which he never went to Algeria, he actually went to France, is when he met with her face to face. So they had been talking prior to that. That was the first time, I guess, he went to actually see her face to face, and then they made the plan to get married and move forward and everything. So she told me she knew of at least one other sister that prior to her, where he was trying to marry. My thing is, I'm sure there were a lot more. Those are the only ones she knew about. I feel confident that there probably were who knows how many more other women that he had been talking to during the course of our marriage that I never knew about at all. I will give him his credit. He was really good at covering his tracks and not leaving any evidence behind. Again, it was strange again when he started doing things like the phone calls out, but since my mind, that was the first thing in my mind, I wasn't suspicious. My mind didn't go there. Again, it wasn't until after she told me everything that things started falling into place. But he was pretty good at covering tracks. His mistake, I think, made was lying to her, this sister Sumaya, and telling her that he was divorced and never telling her about the K1 visa. I can't tell her about any of that stuff. And when she found out and did her own little research and found out he was lying to her, and then come to find out he was actually still married, that was his big mistake, and that was his downfall. And she actually wound up breaking it off with him, decided not to pursue marriage with him. So I guess some good came out of that. Once she found out that he was lying and what he had done to me, she was actually very sorry and very apologetic, and apologized for the role she played, even though she did not know all this was going on. She really was going by what he was telling her, and she assumed he was telling the truth. We both were played. We both were made fools of in the end, and she did break it off with him and decided that she will not be pursuing him for marriage at all. What happened after that, I don't know. In terms of if he found the other women, who knows? But again, after I started putting things together, I definitely came to the conclusion that I'm sure there were, who knows, it could have been dozens of women he was seeing. But I definitely know there were definitely most likely several other women that he probably was talking to and pursuing during the course of our 6-year marriage. I have no doubts about that. And it also made sense with the Uber thing. I think as I started thinking about it and again putting pieces together, I think that's why he pushed so hard. It was so gung-ho and wanting to do the Uber thing. Because think about it, if you're an Uber driver, you have access to an unlimited amount of women and no one will be the wiser. He could see and sleep with and do, you know, as many women as he wanted, and I would never know because he's out driving. And I would never know who's picking up and who he's going with. I would never know that. So again, after I started piecing more things together, things really started coming together and adding up. And I realized that he was basically lying to me almost for the entire length of the marriage about everything. So needless to say, it was a shock. Did not see it coming. Did not expect that. And I really believe that was from Allah. That was Allah's revealing that to me. That way I would know the truth. I can get myself out of that. Like, I'm grateful that Allah chose to reveal that to me. Because honestly, if she had not called me, I never would have known. If she hadn't made that phone call and filled me in on everything that was going on, I never would have known that at all. So that was from Allah. And it happened during Ramadan too. So that definitely was from Allah. Him revealing that information to me during Ramadan. So that's the end of part 2. I will go into more of the aftermath of everything in part 3. So I'm going to stop here. And please stay tuned for part 3. In part 3, I will fill you in on the rest. The aftermath and everything that transpired after I found out the truth about what was really happening after the phone call from this Sister Sumaya. So I'm going to end that here. Hope you enjoyed this part 2. Again, if you haven't watched part 1, go back and watch that now. And continue to watch all my videos if you haven't done so already. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And also, please click the notification bell so you know whenever I release a new video. Until next time, see you.